I got this theory that once somebody finds out that you're a Kiss fan, it tends to be pretty much the only thing they ever remember about you ever. Has that been your experience?
It has. Yeah, they start sending you Kiss memes, and in the same it's the same Kiss memes you've seen for the last 5 years. Like you've never seen that shit before, but you just have to be nice and laugh at it. Like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, the
Haven't seen
courtesy
that
laugh.
before.
The courtesy laugh. It doesn't bother me though. It's proven true
Yeah,
for decades. But being a Kiss fan is one of my more admirable qualities. Anyways, it's my defining characteristic, and I've leaned into it.
agreed. Yeah, I'm not super mad about it. Although, at one my local record store, the guy who runs it has told me that these days the Kiss guys are the new Beatles guys.
Mm.
So,
And
so
you're
I've invented the hashtag not all Kiss guys.
Hey everybody, this is Mike and TJ. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 4 of the Rip and Destroy podcast. Today we're going to talk about Kiss rocking Vegas in 2014, not to be mistaken for their 99 show at the MGM Grand where they broke the internet. This is the residency that they did in 2014 at the Joint in the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. It was there every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday night between November 5th and November 23rd in 2014. And the whole idea behind the residency, the gimmick, if you will, is taking this giant, enormous arena rock show and putting it in a small venue and doing the show for a couple hundred people. But I'm pretty sure that the idea of a giant rock spectacle in front of a couple hundred people is also something that they tested into on the Creatures tour in 1982.
Ooh, burn.
Ouch.
It's the fifth
Ouch.
time they did it on purpose.
Exactly.
So, I just kind of want to mention real quick. It's kind of occurred to us over the first couple of episodes of Rip and Destroy that we kind of set up a trajectory of us kind of discussing Kiss through our own personal timelines. So, I think that's kind of why we started off with kind of the beginning of our fandom, and the second episode was about the convention, which is where you and I saw them together for the first time. And then we went into the reunion tour, and now we're going to Vegas. And I think that's just we're until we run out of that particular topic, being like how many times we've seen them together and our experiences with that. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool that we've kind of started off the pod show with just kind of like our own personal timelines through Kiss. Eventually, like I said, that'll run out, and we'll just start talking about random dumb bullshit. But so yes, we have at this point arrived in 2014, and the Kiss Rocks Vegas residency. And do you kind of recall how they announced the tour, or not the tour, but they announced the residency, and the project. Do you kind of remember how we decided to go?
I don't. If I had to assume, I guess we would talk about stuff on the phone at some point. I'm just assuming you probably threw it out there and said, "Hey, we should go." And I
I,
remember at that time, I was
fascinating story, I know,
yeah,
but
I was traveling a lot for work, and I had a lot of frequent flyer miles. And I remember doing the math and realizing I could get a free ticket down there. I don't remember that story. Do you?
I mean, it's not much of a story, but all I remember is like, we were talking about the fact that they were doing the Vegas thing, and I think we were kind of laughing, like, "Oh man, that'd be so cool if we met up in Vegas and saw them," and then we kind of like stopped laughing about it. We're like, "Well, fuck, why don't we?"
It was cool timing too because you turned 40, I turned 40, Kiss turned 40. It
Yeah,
was just it was the right time to do it, and
yeah,
it was
being
absolute
2014.
blast. Yep.
Yeah, being 2014, both of us being born in 1974. Yes, all of us turned 40. So it was kind of like, yeah, and I think that's what we were talking about. We are like, we kind of have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We, there's like no reason we shouldn't. And I remember I said to my wife, I'm like, we're kind of thinking about doing this. She's like, do it. She's like,
Yep.
absolutely do it.
Same.
And
Same.
yeah, yeah, our
Yeah.
wives are so cool.
Absolutely.
We're
Absolutely.
lucky.
And going back to what you said before about how we're kind of using our own timeline, I got some really amazing feedback from the first episode where somebody said, I know you guys are kind of doing the Kiss thing, but it's really more about you guys than it is about Kiss. And I'm like, oh, kind of right. Kind of
Yeah,
right.
kind of right. Yeah,
And there's no better example than this trip because it was an
yeah.
absolute blast to meet up with you in Vegas. And it started with you picking me up from the airport. And The way I remember it is one of our first stops was actually the Pinball Hall of Fame. How did you know
Yeah,
about that
well,
place?
well, I'm a nerd. That's how I knew about that place. Um, as you can see behind me here, you know, that's kind of my shtick. Yeah, I'm a huge gamer and a huge nerd and a huge retro gamer. And yeah, I knew about the Pinball Hall of Fame, and I knew that you're a pinball guy, and I
Yes.
definitely wanted to take you there. But actually, the way what so how it actually started, or well, how our trip actually started was I flew out there first, um, and I know you were of the opinion that you were just going to fly out on Wednesday and we're going to see the show and then you were going to dip. And I'm like, no, don't do that, man. I'm flying out on Tuesday. We should hang out. So I had to talk you into it a little bit. And I know you ended up changing your flight to Tuesday night. So I know I got there like in the middle of the afternoon, about 3:30 in the afternoon. Um, got us checked in and all that. Actually, here, let me back up. Um, once we decided to um, once we made the decision that we were going to go, tickets had not yet obviously gone on sale. Um, but I remember, the tickets were going to go on sale on a Friday, like they usually do for shows. And I remember I just started poking around on the website for the Hard Rock Hotel, just seeing, looking into rooms and everything, and just kind of seeing what that was going to cost. And I remember very distinct. This was kind of amazing to me. So the tickets for the show were supposed to go on sale on that Friday,
Hmm.
and I think it was maybe like a Tuesday, Wednesday or something. And I was just kind of looking into what the rooms were going to cost, and they had package deals where you could book a room, you know, during one of the Kiss residency nights, and the room came with two free tickets. Or well, the
Hmm.
package deal included two tickets, but this was before the tickets went on sale. So I'm like, wait a minute, if I just book a room, I'm guaranteed tickets, right? Like I don't have to buy tickets. And so I remember I didn't even book it online. I called and talked to the front desk just to make sure that I was getting this straight. And it's like, yeah, if you book for one of the nights that, Kiss is here, yes, you get two tickets included in the package. I'm like, why isn't everybody doing this right now instead of waiting to buy tickets? I mean, I'm sure there's people, traveling through or in town who are already staying in Vegas or who lived in Vegas who, were going to buy tickets separately. But I'm like, why wouldn't you do it this way? So yes, I booked us a room right away. We ended up going on Wednesday, November 19th. It was one of the last shows.
Hmm.
Um, I think that, and then maybe they did one or two shows after that, but it's going to be one of the last shows of the residency. And then I know I added a night, so because I wanted to get there on Tuesday, so that's what we did, and it was amazing that like I didn't understand why you would not book a package room when you were guaranteed a couple of tickets, but there it was, and it worked out great. So yes, I flew in on Wednesday, or I'm sorry, on Tuesday. I got there in the middle of the afternoon, checked in. Um, and I just kind of like hung around and walked around and saw what they had going on. A lot of the hotel was they had Kiss themed stuff. I know they had an enormous banner, like
Hmm.
enormous Kiss graphics on the outside of the Hard Rock Hotel. And then inside, they've already had, they already have. Well, they did have. It's now the Virgin Hotel, so it's no longer the Hard Rock. But they had a lot of rock memorabilia and merch and costumes and stuff like that from various. I mean, I remember they had a whole Beatles section and they had like one of Madonna's dresses and stuff like that. But they had for that month they had the Sonic Boom costumes
Mm.
in the big display,
Yep.
and that was kind of cool to see those pretty up close. The room cards had Kiss on them.
A-
The
Actually, I got it right here. I'm gonna hold it
There it
up to the.
is. Yep,
That's a room
I still have
card.
mine too. Yep, with the expensive John Varvatos stuff on there. The Dress to Kill 2014, which I thought was actually pretty cool.
That was very cool.
Um,
Yeah,
and
and they did one show in those outfits too, which I thought was really cool.
on the cruise, I think, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And the Do Not Disturb hangers had Kiss on them. So yeah, they had a bunch of Kiss stuff going on. Some of the restaurants had like Kiss themed specials or something. So yeah, and then I just kind of hung around, and you flew in around like what? It was pretty late at night. It was like 11
Hmm.
o'clock or something. I think you came in and I picked you up at the airport.
You were totally right about getting there early because there was so much to do. It's Vegas, first of all,
Yeah.
and everything was Kiss themed, and like you said, the restaurants and everything. And And we'll talk about a couple more stops that we made along the way. I know we went to a record store. You picked out this great breakfast spot, but going back to what you said about the package deal with the room and the tickets, the coolest part about that for me was that we had no idea where the tickets were.
Mm.
We just knew that we had two tickets. And I remember you and I going down. I think I just bought a program, and then we went to go pick up the tickets. We got them in an envelope, and we had this oh damn moment where we cracked it open and we saw where the tickets were. And I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna share a picture here of exactly where we were because we were like row 4 or row 5 on Tommy's
Uh-huh.
side.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, we went down to pick up our tickets. You could go get them, I think at like, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock the day of. You go down to the box office and pick up your tickets. And so they handed us this envelope. And first off, we had a VIP line pass. Do you remember that? We had a purple
Yep.
card that let us skip the line. So that was cool. Yeah. And then we took a look at the tickets, and it was like Golden Circle Row HH or whatever. I mean, that means nothing. And I remember, I think we had to look at the map. We're like, okay, this is great, but where are these tickets?
Yep.
And they showed us where it was, and we were like fifth row on Tommy's side. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I'd been that close before, but that was the '95 convention when they played
Hmm.
acoustic. So I had no idea that when you're that close, you actually feel everything. You
Oh
feel
yeah.
every bass drum kick in your chest, but more importantly, like especially on "Lick It Up," because I went back and I watched the Blu-ray again this week to get ready for our chat today, and I remembered on every song, but especially "Lick It Up," every time the flames went up, man, you
Hmm.
just felt it. It just like rushed over your whole
Oh
face.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and again, like we talked about in I think the last episode, I had been what, row 12, I think it was when I saw him in Madison. I remember even when I saw him way back in 88, um, even when the pyro went up, you could feel it. You could feel it hot, get hot and everything. But yeah, being fifth row, like right there, that was nuts. Like I remember, yeah, War Machine when they had like constant pyro going off.
Yeah.
Man, it was getting spicy in there.
War Machine, where you have pyro and you have video of Lego soldiers
Yeah.
marching. And I remember too, I forget what song it was, but we were on Tommy's side and he pulled off this blistering solo. He just killed it, absolutely killed it. We're close enough. We had one of those moments, little eye contact. I give him the double thumbs up. He chucks a pick my way. It made it to the second row. I was in the fifth
Yeah.
row, but still counts.
Close enough.
I,
It's
I
the thought that
appreciate
counts, Tommy.
I appreciate the effort. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
But the be all end all greatest story we could ever tell in the history of this podcast didn't happen at the show. It happened before the show when you and I were getting dressed and ready for the big day. I don't know who wants to tell that story. You're better at telling stories than I am. So,
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah. So yeah, not that we got we did not shop at John Varvatos. We weren't getting that kind of dressed up, but uh which by the way, when I stopped when I was there the day prior and wandering around, I did stop in that John Varvatos store, and they had some pretty cool stuff. And I remember finding like a pretty cool jacket, like it's this kind of rockin' suit jacket. And I think I there was a guy, kind of hovering around me, trying to sell me something because that's what they do. I'm like, oh man, this is pretty cool. Like, how much is this? And it was at least four digits. And I'm like, yeah, no,
I'm
no,
good. I'm
no,
good.
I'm good. I'm good. Um, but yeah, I remember so we were picking out, like, of course, the all important question of what you're going to wear to a Kiss show, which is which Kiss t-shirt are you going to wear? Because which also led to an observation I remember that I had that weekend, that like Kiss is like one of the only bands where it's like okay to wear the t-shirt of the band you're seeing. Like,
It almost feels like it'd be rude not to be
right,
honest.
like in some cases that's like a cheesy thing to do. I think people like kind
Yeah.
of don't want to do that, but I think like Kiss and Iron Maiden are like the two bands where you're like allowed to do that,
Yep.
and like you said, almost even expected to. So, um, so anyways, I remember you said, so should I wear my Destroyer t-shirt or my Destroyer t-shirt? Because you had two t-shirts along with you, and they both had the Destroyer cover. They were different t-shirts,
Oh, black
but
and
they
green.
had they had the Destroyer art on them. And I said to you, well, I don't know, because I was either going to wear my Destroyer t-shirt or my Destroyer t-shirt, because I too had two completely different t-shirts that both had Destroyer on them. And I believe we have a photo.
We do, and it's my second favorite picture from that whole trip. This is it.
There it is.
There it is.
The Destroyer t-shirts and the Destroyer t-shirts.
So,
And
any other
I believe we each settled on a Destroyer t-shirt.
there it is. I think I was rocking the black one, which is my go-to for Kiss shows.
Yeah,
Yep.
which if memory serves, is that the same one that you wore to the 95 convention?
It was in fact, and it was
Aha.
the same one that I wore to the Pinball Hall of Fame when I was playing the Kiss pinball machine. Also,
Yes.
another favorite picture from that trip.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yes, and I believe the one that I wore was it was the Milwaukee specific 96 reunion tour shirt, which I believe had the Kiss logo with like the American flag graphic, and then it had the Destroyer cover art. So we were both rocking the Destroyer t-shirts, in fact.
I've since added a Destroyer tank top to my collection, which my
Oh,
wife is not fond of. It's not her favorite shirt of mine.
no?
So I think I've got three. Three.
Oh, she doesn't like the gun show, huh?
Exactly.
Oh man, that's too bad.
So any other thoughts before the show? Before?
Yeah, because we hung out on Wednesday,
Hmm.
the day of the show. I know we went to breakfast and stuffed our faces. I think we went to two record shops.
Yep.
Um, and I know, let's see, I believe it was Moondog Records that they had a couple of Kiss things. I know they had the British 12-inch of Heavens on Fire, which I did not pick up, but it was kind of funny because in one of the Kiss Facebook groups, maybe one of the vinyl groups that I belong to, like a couple of weeks later, somebody's like, "Hey, I got this Kiss, this Heavens on Fire 12-inch when I was in Vegas." I'm like, "Oh, that was at Moondog. I saw that 2 weeks ago." Um, so yeah, I think we did a little record shopping, did some uh, uh, did some eating, and yeah, then we hit the Pinball Hall of Fame, and um, I know I got some shots of you playing the Kiss pinball
Yep.
because that was the original Kiss ball pinball. That was before the new one from Stern came out, but they did have the OG,
Yeah,
and
I played them both. I prefer the original. They're both great
uh,
though. They're
yeah,
fun.
yeah, they're both cool.
One thing that really stood out to me when we first got into, I don't know if you call it the arena or the club or where the show was basically.
Hmm.
We found our seats. That was amazing. But there's no opener, which I thought was great.
Right,
I liked there not being, a Ted Nugent or something. So we're standing there, and at the
that was the
very,
best part of the show that there was no Ted Nugent.
but at the very front of the stage, there was these giant, huge video screens, like these monitors
Hmm.
at the front of the stage that covered the better part of the whole stage. But you're looking at the whole production and the setup, and there's video screens on the ceiling that kind of went over your head. It was really cool. But I remember for the better part of like 10 minutes looking at those giant video screens, wondering how in the hell they were going to get those out of the way so that you could actually see, the band on stage. And it was honestly one of the coolest, no curtain drop. It was one of the coolest openings from any Kiss show I'd ever seen because, they had the logo up on the screens and they parted like the Red Sea. And you had two on stage left and two on stage right. But as they parted, Detroit Rock City was starting and it was just pure chaos and bedlam. It was
Yep.
absolutely everything happening at the exact same time. Eric was already up, the riser was up, the confetti, the fire, everything was happening. And honestly, for me, it's the closest I've ever come to that experience where you open up a live tube for the first time and you see that.
Right?
But I got to experience it live and it was amazing.
Yeah, and I found it interesting actually that was that's pretty much the shot that they used on the cover of the vinyl and DVD release. I mean, you can see on the sides those video
That's it.
screens. They're opening. I mean, they're still kind of blocking half the stage, but that's what they used for the cover of the actual release. So I thought that was kind of interesting because that was kind of I guess kind of an iconic moment of that show. I just double checked and looked it up. That theater or club or whatever you want to call it did have a capacity of about 4,000.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
wasn't that's small for a Kiss show. And I remember, I kind of remember them kind of hyping up the residency as saying, because it's a residency and they're going to be there all month, they can have like a bigger show. They can like install a bigger production because they're not going to have to move it every night, like they would if they were on tour. Um, I don't know that I would have called it necessarily a bigger more extravagant show than they've ever done. But
Mhm.
um, I mean, I think they definitely, especially with those like those video screens that kind of went up and over the stage. I think that was definitely you know something that was built for that kind of semi-permanent space.
Yeah, also being Vegas, they could accommodate all the production and whatnot. I remember I did make one huge mistake during the opening of that show. Just out of curiosity, I wanted to know how loud it really was. So for the intro, I took my earplugs out, and
Right,
it felt like I was getting punched in the head.
right.
So if it's too loud, you're probably sleeping with a box fan because you have tinnitus like I do. Man, that was a mistake. I just remember thinking it was the loudest thing I'd ever heard in my life. It was louder than when I saw Ministry. It was insane. So the
Oof.
earplugs went back in
But
pretty quick.
you didn't trust the meter.
The meter. We need to talk about the meter. Come on, because the meter. I'm pretty sure that didn't make the Blu-ray.
No, I don't think it did. I do have photos of it.
Do you?
Yeah, I do have photos of the meter, but um, gee, I don't know. I mean, if you've ever been to a Kiss show where they've used the meter, where they've used the audience loudometer, it's very convincing. Let me tell you, for
Mm,
one thing,
mm.
it's very realistic and very convincing. I'm sure that it's actually measuring, the decibels in real time. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you should have trusted the meter, man, and not taking your earplugs out. Hope you didn't do any more permanent damage to your ears. Like,
It really didn't help. I think the meter didn't make the Blu-ray because they just didn't hit the mark that night. I guess
maybe I didn't.
the people
Maybe
didn't
yeah,
bring it, which is kind of
yeah.
embarrassing on video night.
Well, yeah. Right. Had they filmed our show,
Yep, yep.
I
We
mean,
hit it. Yeah, I was
yeah.
there. You've got
Oh yeah,
pictures. You've got
yeah,
proof.
for sure. Yeah, and I think I I think they said that they did the one that they released on vinyl and on video. I think it was the last night, wasn't it? Or maybe one of the last two nights.
I know it wasn't our night. I think
It wasn't
they,
our night, but it was very
yeah,
close because
yeah.
we were like this, like I said, the second or third last show.
Well, another thing too, you mentioned the advantages to doing a residency and with the production and everything too. I don't know if this factored in, but it also seemed like the band was having a blast. Paul especially, I remember commenting to you after the show that it looked like he was just having a really, really good time up there, which it probably helps where you're not on the road, you're not having to travel. The only other show that I ever saw him enjoy himself that much on stage was the Live to Win tour. So,
Oh,
yep, so that was cool.
did
And
you
I
see
remember
it? You saw that tour?
I did, yeah, the Aladdin Theater in Portland, actually front row.
Oh,
That's
I
that's
don't
where
know that I knew that.
Yeah, I got a pick at that show. He didn't actually
Nice.
play with the pick, but he did stick it in his mouth and spit it out. And the guitar player was kind enough to kick it over to me. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
the set list for that show was fantastic. We should talk about that sometime too, because they did a lot from his '78 solo record, and they did a lot from Lick It Up too, which was really cool to see him, singing Lick It Up songs that Kiss didn't do. Speaking of set list, though, I thought the set list in Vegas was probably as cool as it could have been, because they had Parasite, they had Tears Are Falling, and Hell or Hallelujah,
Hmm.
which I thought was really cool,
Yeah, that was cool to see live.
and it was so cool, in fact, that it made the show that I saw in 2016 not nearly as good because that was more of a kind of paint by numbers,
Yeah.
Kiss show. Still fantastic, but they didn't have Parasite, they didn't have Tears Are Falling, and they didn't have Hell or Hallelujah, which I thought was really cool from the Vegas show, which, like I said, was as good a set list as you could hope to get at that era.
Yeah. Speaking of Lick It Up though, I think it was probably right around the Vegas show when I decided that I could go without seeing Lick It Up live ever again, really. I don't know what it is, but I don't mind that song on vinyl. Um, but man, that song bores the shit out of me live. Especially okay, why did they start putting the Who thing in there? Why did they start playing like how and why and when did they decide that Lick It Up was so fucking boring that they needed to stick half of what Get Fooled Again into it? And how do they get away with it? I don't know.
Especially releasing it like they did. But I thought the Who thing was kind of cool the first time I saw it, but when you see it two, three, four times, it kind of loses some of its
and it just
charm.
becomes part of the song all of a sudden, and it's like,
Yeah,
but
and it doesn't help
if
that Lick It Up is probably one of the worst songs on that whole album too. It just happened to be the single.
right, yeah, in the title track. But you start, they start playing it so much that you start, maybe the younger fans, you know, start seeing that live, and then they suddenly hear "Won't Get Fooled Again" and like, hey, they ripped off Kiss. Who are these Who assholes?
Exactly.
You just don't want to misinform the kids, man. I'm thinking about the children's.
And I mentioned that we talked about a picture being the second best picture, the best picture from that whole trip, and the picture that I told my wife I want on my coffin at my funeral is the coolest selfie ever. It was rock and roll all night. It's end of the show, confetti's raining down, and then I feel like that guy grabbed you at the Madison show and
Uh-huh.
kind of headlocked you. You kind of grabbed my shoulder. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And you spun me around. We busted out the 180, and you took a selfie of you and I side by side with the band in the back and all the confetti. And
Yeah, buddy.
here it is,
Yeah.
coolest picture ever.
Yes, that was when we started the tradition of the rock and roll all night selfie.
Exactly. And then we hung out for a bit after to grab confetti. And I remember one of the guitar techs coming out and throwing like a whole box of picks. And
Hmm.
I think I got about 10 of them, which
Yeah,
was
I
really
got
cool.
some too. I got a big handful.
Yeah.
Confetti picks. Let's see what did I didn't buy any t-shirts or anything. Did you bought the book? Okay,
I,
yep.
I did. Yeah. Did you get I think you got a program at that one, didn't you?
I got that. Yeah, I think I bought the book too.
Yeah, this is cool. I like the reunion tour program better. This one quite cool, but just extremely large. Not quite as
It,
big as the monster book, but it's really big, and I had to adjust the shelving on my bookshelf to accommodate.
yeah, I can't remember. Did I buy that one there, or had you bought me that one at a show and sent it to me? Oh no, you bought me the End of the Road book.
I did. Yep.
Okay, yes. So I think I did buy the tour book at Vegas too. So yes, we both bought a book.
Did you see Kiss Rocks Vegas in the theater when they put that out?
Mm-mm.
I did. I did.
No, I don't think. I
Yeah.
don't even know if it came around here.
Yeah. That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, no, I think the first time I saw it was when it came out on Blu-ray, and I remember the package deals. Okay, speaking of package deals, the room package deal was great. The release of Kiss Rocks Vegas was weird. So I don't know if you remember the packages, but so it came with so there was the vinyl that came with a DVD,
Right. Right.
and then there was the CD that came with a Blu-ray.
That's what I got.
Well, I wanted the vinyl and I wanted the Blu-ray. So I had to buy both. So I
There it
also
is.
wound up with a DVD and the CD, which I mean, great. Now I can watch it on anything I have that spins discs, that's fine, I guess. But I just remember that being really odd that they bundled them that way. But I mean, I guess they bought me they got me to buy it twice.
There it is. There's a method to the madness. I don't have it
Yeah.
on vinyl yet, and now having seen yours, I need to get that sooner than later.
Yeah, and I haven't seen one around in a long time. It wasn't released through their normal label though. It's not on, I don't think it's on Universal. No, it is not. It's on Eagle. Well, it's got the Universal Music Group logo on it. I don't know if that's just because that's, who typically owns their owned their copyrights at the time, but it's on Eagle Vision. Um, so it wasn't because I don't know if you notice, but Kiss Rocks Vegas is not part of their streaming catalog.
Hmm.
So I think there's obviously some sort of a um, rights difference. So and now that Pop Host owns everything, or I mean, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. I think Universal still owns the music rights. So I don't know if they have the rights to Kiss Rocks Vegas or not. But I would say if you can find one, you should probably grab it.
Yeah, I'll have to hit up Discogs.
There you go.
And it just, last thought for me, I loved watching them play Tears Were Falling. It was cool to
Hmm.
see him play at makeup, but for me, it brought me back to the summer of like 85 or 86, where I was living in Port Charlotte, Florida. We had nothing to do. It was a retirement community. So every day, my brother and I would go to Walmart, and it just so happened that they had one of those VHS samplers with like five or six different videos back in the where you
Hmm.
bought records and CDs and stuff. And Tears Are Falling was one of the videos on, and I would rewind it and I would watch it over and over again in Walmart, just standing there in the aisle watching that video. So that was really cool. So
I think I might have had that video taped off MTV, and I'm sure I did the same thing.
right on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you remember some of the other stuff that we saw though at the that they had set up at the Hard Rock? So first off, they had the Kiss slot machines, which
yes. Yeah.
I had actually been looking for the previous time I was in Vegas. I had been to a few different casinos looking for them because I knew somebody had them and I didn't know who. And me and my buddy were looking for them and like asking around, and like nobody knew where they were. And then of course we show up at the Hard Rock, and of course they're at the Hard Rock, and of course at the Hard Rock during the Kiss residency. So they did have the Kiss slot machines there. I think I got a couple of pictures of those. If you want to throw that up. You can throw that picture up because they did get a couple of cool shots of the Kiss slot machine, which I don't know at this point now that it's a Virgin hotel. I don't know that they still have those or if they exist anymore. But who knows? Maybe some amusement devices warehouse has those, and I don't know. Maybe we should try to get them. That'd be fun.
I didn't play it. Did you play it? Did you play the
Yeah, I think I
slots?
did. I think
Okay.
I played. I think I gave it a couple spins before you got there, and lost because that's what I do at slot machines. I have no luck with those things.
So we're upside down on the zine and a little upside down on the trip, but it was still worth it. And
Yeah, I don't know that I could see the trip upside down.
yeah, I wish I would have got a hold of some of the chips. They were really cool looking, and
Oh
get a hold of
yeah,
those. But I remember the pop-up store, and the one thing that stands out to me was I,
I know what you're gonna say.
yeah, of course you do, because you pointed it out. I heard you laughing in the corner, and you're like, dude, you got to see this. And I went over, and I was super excited because they had Creatures shirts. And I
Uh-huh.
wanted to get a Creatures of the Night shirt, but for some reason, it was a Creatures shirt with Peter Criss.
Yeah, that was very odd. It was Creatures of the Night. It was the cover, blue with the glowing eyes and everything, but instead of Eric Carr, it was Peter Criss. And I'm guessing, I mean, I'm guessing it's some sort of a makeup design trademark rights issue because I don't know that Kiss owns Eric's makeup,
Interesting.
the
I didn't know
trademark to
that.
Eric's. Yeah, I
No.
don't think they do actually. Um, so that was, although they have released T-shirts of the Creatures cover, and I know I've seen merch. You know, I'm pretty sure I've seen merch with Eric on it or with the cover on it or whatever the correct cover. I'm pretty sure they don't. I know that like obviously they can reissue the album with the original cover on it and everything, but yeah, they might not have had the rights to it. But I thought it was odd that like if why would you even put it out then?
Well, what's interesting about that is when they finally came out with the Eric Carr action figure, it wasn't the right makeup. It was the original version of the Fox makeup, and
Yeah, the
not the
Palladium version.
yes, not the cooler version. So now it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, doesn't it?
Yep.
There's probably no copyright on the Palladium, the first night at the Palladium version makeup, and here all the hardcore Kiss fans thought that they were just being, you know, being being inside baseball about it, but in reality, maybe they couldn't do it.
So if they'd put the palladium makeup on the creature shirt, I probably
What
would
would
have
have been
bought.
the
I
problem?
would have bought
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It might also be a likeness issue too. They might not have the rights to do to do Eric's likeness, which I believe was the big kerfuffle over the Asylum anniversary release.
Hmm.
Where all the merch just had Gene and Paul on it because they didn't have the rights to reproduce Eric or Bruce's handsome mushes on merchandise.
Yeah, that's why I
So
took
that
it.
could have been it. But yeah, and I remember I didn't get a T-shirt or anything. They had the Kiss Vegas T-shirts, and they had that oh, what was the name of the big vinyl box set? The Kisteria or
Mhm.
whatever. They had that, so I got to see that in person. Even though, I mean, I've seen all the reissues in record stores other than the compilations that they put in the box set. But it was kind of cool to see that in person. But yeah, I don't remember any of the other merch really standing out.
Yeah, I price that box set from time to time. It's always ridiculously expensive. One
Yeah,
can dream. I dare to dream, but
yeah.
someday.
Well, it's okay.
Yep.
I don't know. You got anything else on Vegas? It was a blast. I guess the only other thing I'm going to say is that other than other than the convention, that's the only time you and I ever got to see Kiss together, and I'm glad we had an awesome experience that we got to see them so up close. Finally got to see them fully electric and in makeup, and
Yes.
we at least got to add that to our own personal history.
It's one of my all-time favorite memories. It's probably more fun than I've ever had in my whole entire life. I wish we could do it again. That said, we'll probably catch a ghost show or something
For
in
sure.
the future. That'd be fun.
The
Right
legacy
on.
lives on.
Yep. Speaking of shows, next time out we're gonna tackle the farewell tour versus the farewell tour, or the farewell tour versus the end of the road tour. So we're gonna compare and
Yes,
contrast both of the farewell tours.
that'll be interesting.
Until then, where can people get a hold of us?
They can check us out on Instagram at Rip and Destroy Podcast. You can drop us hate mail or love mail, whichever one. We've gotten both at Rip and Destroy Podcast at gmail.com. Watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
Kill the Paul, Phil. Kill the Paul.